For those who doubted, didn't believe, thought that this position that Fuchs took, this decision, to be more precise, wouldn't change anything. Guys, the entire far left, the media, we could even say the far supreme left, the media here, right? Defeated. Fuchs changed the entire Brazilian political game, all of it with a touch of cruelty. I've already said here in several videos that Fuchs is a rapporteur. He's the rapporteur for President Bolsonaro's ineligibility. In the so-called second panel, now there's Fuchs, Andre, Cassio, Dias Toffoli, and Gilmar. I should tell you, they're now the majority, right? Many things are changing, and the pressure is rising. Who knows if that's not why Barroso decided to retire from the Supreme Court? And automatically, who knows, maybe he'll be able to go back to Disney, right? And have his apartment worth more than 30 million reais available to him again so he can take vacations at his spiritual retreat. I'll show everything here. The video is amazing. I've improved the camera images, friends. Now I think it's going to be perfect. Hit that like button, smash the like button. Come be part of our family. Check this out. With Fuchs's request, plans to close Bolsonaro's case could take months or even years, right? In other words, obviously Moraes would rush it, and he did, right? He's completely desperate. He wants it by any means, right? See if he can get President Bolsonaro out of the game, trying in every possible way. That's the way he thinks he'll be able to do it, right? To achieve this goal. But let's look at the facts here, right? Yeah. Leaving a message here first, my friends. And yes, you there. This is President Bolsonaro. Okay? This is very important. Check if you look good on President Bolsonaro's social media. If you're following President Bolsonaro there. If you have social media, share President Bolsonaro's videos. It's very important. If he's not able to use social media right now because of the dictatorship we're facing here, right? We do it for him. We do it for him. So it's very important for us to be able to make this difference now. Here is President Bolsonaro. We miss him a lot, right? Obviously, we miss the president.
Reminiscing a bit, huh?
Look at that.
64, 65, I lived here.
An incredible person, right? He deserves all our respect. A man who never gave up on any of us. So, go check it out over there. Now, coming back here, take a look. Yeah. This entry, Fakin, right? There was no way for him to escape. There was no way for Fakin to say otherwise. No, I'm going to postpone it. I'm going to take a while to put Fuchs in the second panel. No, there was no way. As soon as Fuchs sent the transfer, Edson Fachin went there and already transferred him. Here, the activists, look at this. Andrea was freaking out, the new one, Daniela Lima, but with her hair brownish, let's put it that way, right? She tries to replace that lady there, but it's not working out very well because the political situation is different. A blogger says here that a Supreme Court minister reported that Fuchs's relationship in the first panel is unsustainable. After requesting a transfer, the minister may hear Bolsonaro's appeal on ineligibility. Determined by the Superior Electoral Court. It's in Fuchsino's hands,
Minister Fuchs faced a situation where the first panel lacked a positive atmosphere or environment.
Oh, no atmosphere? Shouldn't they be more professional, this whole thing about no atmosphere? So, in other words, if he doesn't do what the emperor wants, or Fuchs is left out of the loop.
But in the second panel, Minister Gilmar Mendes will preside, and he doesn't have a good relationship with him. It's not good. Last week, actually.
You see that it's a person who is connected to martial arts. Fuchs, if I'm not mistaken, is an 8th Dan in Jiu-Jitsu. The Dan, when you get the black belt, I'm a first Dan. The exams are very expensive, my friends. To take the first Dan is already expensive. Then you go for the second Dan. It's a high cost for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, right? but we improve ourselves. We do the exercises, the movements, right? For example, in Taekwondo, it's Tegu and Palgui. I don't know what it is in Jiu-Jitsu. Fuchs is an 8th Dan in Jiu-Jitsu. For you, I need to explain this to you. To reach the level that Fuchs is at, a person has to be extremely, extremely dedicated. Dedicated. And we can also say, committed, right? A true strategist. In other words, besides going to the third group, now they are the majority. He faced Gilmar Mendes head on. It's Gilmar Mendes head on. Look, Gilmar, you're not in charge here, no. There are also people here who have much more courage and audacity than you. And he practically walked into the lion's den, where Cassio and Andre were already, and said, well, I'm here now, Gilmar. So, that's basically what he did, because Gilmar this week was spitting fire at him, right?
Monica Bergamo of Folha de São Paulo shared their behind-the-scenes conversation. Minister Fuchs said he knew he was being talked about behind his back by Minister Gilmar, and Minister Gilmar Mendes said he wasn't talking behind his back, he was saying it right to his face. Yes, they argued.
He was desperate because he went to the second panel. Continuing here, just so you know, ineligibility is in the hands of Fuchs. I believe that Fuchs will do what is right. He will make President Bolsonaro eligible. But it's a process, you see, that takes some time. Everything is happening over there in the United States and all, and we really see things escalating every day. We're watching, especially, that on Sunday there's going to be a meeting between Trump and Lula. I don't know, man. I really don't know. In fact, I even saw on Globo itself that Rubio... Look at this craziness. Look at this craziness. Rubio stopped being admired by Trump. Because Brazilian businessmen talked to Trump and said, look, this Rubio guy isn't worth anything. The Brazilian businessman who tried to make a deal with Trump. Trump is an old fox. He knows very well who these people are, on the same level as Wesley's brothers. He does a Google search here and he knows, right, who these guys are. They have the FBI and CIA backing them. That's all I need to say. Look, Marco Rubio now. He's out of the game. Look at this craziness out of Trump's deck. Because he listened to Paulo Figueiredo and Eduardo Bolsonaro. Before Marco Rubio talked to Eduardo or Paulo Figueiredo, Trump, he was already friends with Eduardo Bolsonaro, who is also a friend of Trump's son. Man, these guys are really indecent. Here, one of the biggest journalists in the American press, Tucker Carlson, he says, look, during Bolsonaro's time, people were happier. The poor, they're saying, the poor could import cheap goods without having to pay a fortune in taxes, food was cheaper, and the country was heading toward a better future. Look at what Tucker Carlson says here.
But it's the last clip from the plagiarist Fareed Zakaria, who explains why they're so crazy about Bolsonaro. Fareed Zakaria. He says he represents a rising global threat to liberal ideals. Liberalism refers to neoliberalism, which means globalism. That's true. Bolsonaro isn't like Justin Trudeau. He's not a low intelligence quotient fascist who would be working as an influencer on Instagram if he didn't have his own army. He's not the Ukrainian president who shuts down critical television stations, bans opposition parties, and arms Nazis. Bolsonaro is actually a liberal by conventional standards. He hasn't restricted civil liberties in Brazil.
The American press is here. He hasn't restricted civil liberties. What's happening to President Bolsonaro is clearly political persecution. That's a fact, right? Continuing here, this one was also devastated. He's irrelevant, but let's remember, this here is irrelevant. It's crap, as I usually say. But he's Gilmar Mendes's errand boy. He's outraged here. Because Fuchs went to the second panel, and now he'll be together with Gilmar. He's throwing a fit.
Do you understand what's going to happen? It's going to happen. So, the second panel will be Gilmar Mendes? Diaz Toffoli, Andre Mendonça, Nunes Marquez. Of course, obviously, right? He's looking for a 3-2. Him, Mendonça, and Nunes Marquez.
You see? I feel like jumping for joy seeing the desperation these people are in. And Fuchs? He was the only minister who faced Zando head on. Here, he talks about the issue in the electoral process. Let's put it that way. You hear it here, Fuchs himself is speaking, and there's a way for him to get upset. Look, let me stop here as well to explain to you everything that Fuchs is doing. It's body language. Look, he talks like this to convey seriousness, like, I'm thinking, I'm thoughtful here, and all that. All of this, my friends, is image calculation. That's the only real judge on the Supreme Court, right? This professional here might not do everything we want, okay? Of course. But he has a sharpness. It's unbelievable.
Diaz turned to me and said, the Pentagon was hacked in its technology. Is there really nothing that can be hacked here in our country? Those who ask already know. I stayed silent. Hey,
look at him. Hey, people who ask already know. I'm not going to say anything, but I already did. So, another moment here, right? Yeah, as you can see, there's another amazing video here. Here he is, right? Paulo Figueiredo comes to the same conclusion I'm talking about, right? Paulo Figueiredo believes Fuchs joining the second panel would reduce Moraes' influence and isolate Gilmar Mendes. And if the change is confirmed, there would be a balance of power in the Supreme Court. Yeah, there will be a balance now. Especially because you saw the move by Zando yesterday. He's doing all he can to hold Valdemar back. To extinguish the Partido Liberal. Why does Zando want to extinguish the Partido Liberal? Any right-wing congressman like Nicolas Geyer or Ramagam, just like Zando tried to arrest now, right? It's in the appeal phase now. They get a huge number of votes in any party, But the Partido Liberal has the electoral fund, since it's the largest party in the House of Representatives, right? So, Moraes does this precisely to try to eliminate the Partido Liberal and the electoral fund, right? These representatives don't receive it, so they lose more power, because the Senate, which is what Zando fears. If he dissolves the Partido Liberal in his view, it will become much, and it will, that's a fact. It will become much harder. The campaign for senators and new senators next year is what will determine the situation of Alexandre de Moraes. Do you understand? Why is this here? Claudio Dantas even wrote, Valdemar da Costa Neto only thinks about 2026, or rather, he used to think. Alexandre de Moraes decided to wake him up from the dream and elect a right-wing Congress without Jair Bolsonaro. And he woke up in the worst way, ordering the investigation into his involvement in the coup plot to be reopened. The leader of the Partido Liberal had escaped Paulo Gone's accusation, even though he was responsible for hiring Carlos Rocha, Legal Vote Institute owner who wrote the report, seeking to invalidate 59.18% of second-round 2022 election votes. In other words, he's trying with this move to get rid of Valdemar from political life, practically, and who knows, maybe even arresting him to put him in a totally complicated situation. And make it difficult for senators to be elected as candidates for the Senate. And then, as if people were unaware of the intentions. Even this Folatim here, look, the Forum magazine. We fund this with our taxes. Fuchs's move to request a transfer to the second panel could implode the Supreme Court. Look at what they're saying here. A dangerous motive behind a seemingly trivial request. If authorized by Fachin, even though there are only 3 out of 11, Bolsonaro supporters will control half of the Supreme Court. These guys are desperate. There was no way for Fachin to say no. There wasn't. Something is happening. We're going to make it there. It's a process that takes time, and we must be patient. Alert, here, okay? Share this video a lot. It really helps our work. Hit the like button, a little arrow, hit the like button, come be part of our family. Subscribe for updates. I'll return soon with more news on the Paisafilos channel.